You talking about your problems all the time is literally making them worse, and it's making them grow. The brain is always going to expect what you feed it the most, and repeated focus on negative thought is going to train the brain to expect negativity. So you talking about your problems all the time, thinking about all the traumatic, awful things that have happened to you and why they've done this to you, and this is why the way that you are. All that's doing is forcing your brain and your body to live in that state over and over and over again. And so you're forcing yourself into this perpetual state of negativity. It's not working. It's making it worse. When you talk about your problems, it has to be in a solution-oriented way. If you're going to obsess over something, it needs to be, how is this making me smarter? How is this making me better? How is this making me more loving or more kind? Whatever. But you have to stop. Where attention goes, energy flows. So wherever your attention is, that is what's going to grow. That is what's going to be more important in your brain. Do you notice how you learned a foreign language a couple years ago and suddenly you can't remember any of it? You notice how things that you used to know really, really well, that used to be so stuck in your brain, you forget about? That's because you have to remind the brain every single day of the things that are important to it. It has a very small attention span, and you're wasting all of it on things that hurt you, that made you feel bad. That's what it's going to remember, and that's what it's going to remind you of. The brain is obsessed with patterns and patterns of reinforcement. Every time you talk about your problems and you ruminate on them and you obsess over them and you overthink them and you spiral, you're reinforcing that pattern in your brain. You have to stop and you have to shift your perspective. The things that happen to you aren't your fault, but they are your responsibility for the way that they ultimately will affect you. If I sat around thinking and talking about my problems all day long, I would never leave the house. It would send me into such a depression, anxious spiral that I literally wouldn't be able to function normally. You have to force your neural pathways to shift, and you have to override that part of your brain and say, no, that's not my life. This is my life. You have to act like the person you want to become. You have to pretend like you're living the life that you want to live. How do you fall asleep? You pretend like you're sleeping. How do you learn to ride a bike? You pretend you're riding a bike. It's the same thing. Wherever you're choosing to invest your attention the most is where you're going to see the highest return. You're investing it in a shitty stock. Invest it in something else.